My name is Emma, and welcome to Read the World. Today, I'm going to very belatedly be talking about the 3 romance novels that I read for AAPI Heritage Month. I know that that month ended a while ago, but I am feeling rejuvenated to get this series. And also, I read all the books. I just haven't filmed and put out the video. So if I read all the what I read all those books for, I'm not going to tell you about them. So I got to, even no matter how late it is. This month was a bit weaker of a month for me than previous Heritage Month romance reads. But this really just has to do with my own personal choices for what I tracked down to read during the month, and the fact that I am realizing more and more that I'm not like romance isn't one of my go-to genres. I've always enjoyed romance novels, but I always want kind of something more to be going on in the story rather than just the romance part. And I want the other stuff going on, whether that is emotional or career or friendship or family developments, to be really well done as well. And there are a lot of romance novels out there that are very just check a lot of boxes for what a romance story is supposed to be, and it's just kind of like candy, you munch it real fast. It's very sweet, and then it's gone. You forget about it. And so I'm still learning how to gauge when I'm looking at a synopsis for a romance novel if it's going to have all of that, all those other elements, all of that depth. Is it mean for me to say that I want them to have more depth? I don't mean to say that a lot of these romance novels are shallow or don't have any depth. They're just very fluffy. They're cotton candy, and that's great. They definitely have their place, but I'm always craving something hearty. I'm always craving chocolate cake, So I'm still trying to figure out how to tell the difference when I'm looking at a synopsis and figuring out what I'm gonna get. So the first book that I read was called Yours Eventually by Nura Maznavi. This is a modern retelling of the Jane Austen novel Persuasion, where the characters from Persuasion are members of the Pakistani American community in the San Francisco Bay Area. I gave this one 2 stars, unfortunately. I thought that the premise and the way that it presented the events of Persuasion in a modern setting was really fun and really interesting. In the original Persuasion book, the female main character is persuaded by her family, by some members of her family. A lot of her family doesn't know that she was involved with this man, but they persuade her to cut things off with the man that she's seeing because they think that he's too poor and has no prospects. But then years later, she encounters him again, and he has made a lot of money, and so suddenly her family thinks that he's really great and he should marry one of her sisters or cousins or something. And in Yours Eventually, the main character was persuaded by her father and aunt to break up with her college boyfriend because he was a computer programmer who was planning on dropping out of college in order to build a startup, and they were like, that's not good enough for you, you need to find someone better than that. And then she encounters him years later, and of course he has made $1 billion off of selling a startup that he created with his programming, and now her family wants him to get together with one of her relatives. And I thought that all made a lot of sense, that her family dynamics were really structured to kind of mimic the intensity of the family dynamics of 19th century British socialite drama. So the setup I thought was good, but then the main character and this guy that she's been pining over for years, they barely interact. It's really just her complaining the whole time about oh my gosh, why did I do this? And now he hates me, and I can't even tell anyone. It's just her complaining about the circumstances, but then not really interacting with him very much. And then the flashbacks to when they were together in college were not significant enough for me to really understand why they were so good together and what their chemistry was like. And since they weren't interacting in present day, I didn't see any chemistry. And so I just found it very dull for the majority of the book. And the last little bit, suddenly there's kind of been these other little plot lines floating around with her friends and family members, and you're trying to just oh, I don't know what's going on there. Suddenly at the very, very end, all of those little plot lines with her friends and family are all wrapped up very neatly and very tightly in ways that don't entirely make sense, including the fact that some people like suddenly get engaged after only dating for like a few weeks, which is very Austen, yes, but like this is trying to be a modern retelling. Like why can't they just announce that they why can't they just announce that they'd secretly been dating? I don't like, and there was even a line where a character was like, "Oh, I guess millennials are just really rushing into marriage these days," as like trying to be like a little self-aware of the fact that it's very silly and very Austen-esque, except that that's not what millennials are like. And why is that something from the original book that you can't alter to fit the modern day? That doesn't make any sense to me. That was so strange and just not very romantic. I didn't understand why they should be back together. I thought that she had a lot of conflict with her family and what she was going to do with her career, and her family having certain expectations for what she should do for her career. And I thought that was very suddenly wrapped up like way too neatly at the end for such like a complex situation. And I thought there was a lot of potential there for it being really well done. I thought that it was setting it up to show that the main character was like a majorly unreliable narrator just because she's so intensely critical of her sisters and her family, and then it kind of implies that like they're not as bad as she makes them seem. But I wanted it to take that further and to really like show exactly how like our perceptions, especially like in a family, can impact like the way that we interact with each other. And I just thought there was some interesting stuff there that I would have liked to see more of, but then didn't. And I don't know. It was just all very disappointing. So 2 stars, 2 stars from me. Next, I read I'll Have What He's Having by Adib Khorram. I gave this one 3.5 stars, which I hope doesn't sound like too low of a rating. This just turned out to be one that was like very straightforward, very like formulaic, like cute, sweet romance that I'm sure a lot of people would really love, but it just didn't have enough other things going on outside of the romance to really make me feel compelled. But I just think it was still a very cute romance, and I really felt the chemistry between the 2 main characters. So the 2 characters are, one goes to a wine bar to drink and eat fries by himself. Like none of his friends are available to hang out with him, and he's sad. And he gives a fake name to the hostess because he's Iranian American, and people can never understand what his name is. And the fake name that he gives just happens to be the name of like a famous food critic without him realizing. And so they think that this famous food critic has come to review the wine bar. So they send their like head sommelier to like really treat him really well and give him a great experience at this wine bar. And so this character is like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all of this like free wine and all this really good food. This is so amazing. And then this sommelier is like, wow, this is amazing. Like we're gonna get like a really great review from this critic, and it's gonna go so well for a restaurant. But then they're also like catching a vibe, like, oh, I wonder if he's into guys. He's like so handsome, and they're starting to flirt more like throughout the dinner, and then they go home together and discover the mix-up and the fact that he is not in fact this famous food critic in the city. But they still just like really enjoy each other's company and are having a great time. But the sommelier character, he is planning on like taking his big sommelier exam and then going and working like a fine dining restaurant. They're in Missouri, Kansas, one of those smack dab in the middle country states. And he's like, I want to go to a big city and work for a really fancy restaurant and make a ton of money. And so he's like, so I can't get attached. And so they're like trying to do casual because he's going to leave at some point soon. But like they're so drawn to each other. It's these really like conflicting feelings of like they want something more, but like they can't because he's going to leave and all this stuff. And then the character the customer character, I can't remember their names. I'm really sorry. I should have written that down. Is that important? Do you need to know the characters' names? The character who was not the food critic after all, he takes over his parents' restaurant and has all these angsty feelings about like trying to prove to his family that he's really capable because he always feels like they've undervalued him. So like we have all that going on. The sommelier is helping him with like taking over the restaurant because he knows like the restaurant business. It's very cute. This one, oh, yours eventually, no spice whatsoever. Very Austen of her. I'll Have What He's Having, fairly spicy. There are a few scenes, and I thought they were well done, and that the characters really made sense together, and that they were really cute. I could really see their romance and why they liked each other. I liked their kind of little mundane conversations that they had with each other, and the like things that they had in common, and like their interests that they connected on. I thought it was very cute and felt very human. I liked the side characters in like friend groups and things like that. I think that this is a really good pick if you're looking for like a really sweet romance with really genuine chemistry. I enjoyed this very much. I enjoyed this for what it was. It's not going to be like my favorite of all time, but I would say 3.5 for a romance like counts for a lot. It's not like gonna go on like my favorite romances of all time, but I enjoyed it. I would recommend it if that entire premise sounds good to you. Then I think you should go for it. Then lastly, I read Sophie Goes Lonely Hearts Club by Roselle Lim. This one was very different. It's more of a romantic story than like a romance. Like there is a lot of romance in it, but it's not like a romance novel. It's like slightly supernatural. It's a lot more about like the main character's personal life and her own growth. So the main character, Sophie, has just gotten back to her hometown after studying to be a professional matchmaker in China. And the slightly supernatural element, this is really the only supernatural element in the story, is that she's able to physically see like the red threads that come out of people that like represent the connections that they have with other people. So if they have like a very strong connection with their partner, then it's like a thick, bright, vibrant red thread. If they're not connected with anyone, it's just this little broken, sad thread hanging out of them. And she's able to see that and to tell when people's threads are attracted to each other and like who would be a good match. So she has that sight. Considering that that's the only supernatural thing that's mentioned in the entire story, I thought that people should have acted like that was a bigger deal when they find out that's what she could do. That seems really incredible. But everyone's just kind of like, oh right, you can do that. It seemed very normal to everybody. So she gets back. It turns out that she was expelled from her matchmaker school due to an unfortunate scandal that wasn't entirely her fault. And so she's trying to build up clients in order to apply for like independent certification as a matchmaker. So she kind of goes after like an unexpected clientele that will maybe give her more of a chance, which is all the elderly people in her apartment building. Where she's like, I can help you find your partner and like tell me all about yourself, and like I'll help you. And like she takes on like a challenge to match like all of the like there's like 7 old men all in like a friend group in the apartment building. She's like, I'll match all of you, and they're like, and she like takes on this challenge. Meanwhile, her parents, especially her mother, but her father enables it. Her mother is extremely financially and emotionally abusive, like demands a lot of money from her, and also is extremely critical and verbally cruel to her. And so she's kind of dealing with that and figuring out how to cope with that now that she's living on her own as an adult. And there's a little bit of a romance as she is traversing the whole matchmaking scene, where it was a little unclear why, but for some reason matchmakers aren't allowed to fall in love and have a relationship. But like she's trying to navigate she's trying to figure out what to do when she starts to have feelings for this guy. I thought that the way the matchmaking sequences worked was really, really cute. It made me think that it should be like a little cartoon series or something like that, where like each like 20-minute episode is her like matching an old person, because like the ways that she finds people to match these old people with is pretty simplistic, but I thought that worked for what it was. Of like, you just get this little episode of each old person and exactly what they need in order to be matched. And it just seemed like a cute little snappy series of cute stuff, and I enjoyed it. It very much felt like I was watching like a season of like a heartwarming anime or something like that. I thought that all of the elderly people had really distinct personalities and were very fun, and I liked that. It was very much going for like the found family aspect to a story, and I thought that worked really well. I'm sure I definitely know people who have had parents who were abusive in the way that hers were to her, and so like there were definitely parts of it that I thought seemed quite relatable and realistic, but some parts seemed quite cartoonish. They were like sometimes her mom was just like cartoonishly evil, and I think I would have appreciated like a little more subtlety and nuance to how that situation would feel to Sophie, rather than just like, wow, she's very straightforwardly evil, Sophie should just get out of there. But you know, it's like a cute little, it wasn't doing some kind of in-depth analysis of that kind of parent-child dynamic. That was kind of the background of the story. It was the personal conflict for Sophie. And then I definitely would have liked a lot more with her own romance in the story. Like, the main conflict in her own personal romance is like, what am I going to do? I'm not supposed to be in love because I'm a matchmaker and that's not allowed. But I wanted to see a lot more of like why they liked each other and like why they should be together and why this should be something that she like fights for with the, like the matchmaking overlords or whatever. Like I wanted to know like why is this something that she should put a lot of effort into and try and change things. What is it that's gonna really pay off for her here? There were just so many little matchmaking romances with all these old people that there just wasn't much time spent on her own romance, and I just thought that was a bummer. I would have liked even just like a little more, like show me exactly what their connection is and like why this should be so important to her. That felt like a bit of a letdown to me. So I gave this one 3 stars. That's just like a little bit lower than I'll Have What He's Having. I'll Have What He's Having, definitely, I would just like recommend if you're a general romance fan and that premise seems good to you, I highly recommend it. Sophie Goes Lonely Hearts Club, I would recommend as long as you like know what you're getting. You're not getting like an overall love story. You're getting lots of little love stories, lots of little tastes that are very cute and heartwarming. I would say it's more of like a cozy novel than it is like a romance novel, if that makes any sense. And if that's what you're going for, then I would recommend it. I thought that like the writing was good and descriptive and no complaints on the sentence structure and like the skill that the writer exhibited. But that is all of my picks for AAPI Heritage Month. Stay tuned. Very soon, because I'm behind, I will have my Pride Month romance video. So please let me know if you read anything for AAPI History Month, celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander authors. And I will see you soon.